If you just got accredited in Singapore or Malaysia and you're struggling to get leads, clients, or even customers for your business or your training program, in this video, we're going to talk about why that is so for most newbies and how you can overcome that in this video. How do you stop chasing leads so that you can focus on delivery, transformation, and cash flow? Okay, right? You are basically an expert, you are a trainer, you are good at whatever you are, but you struggle to get seen, get heard, and get paid. Then this is really the video for you. My name is Riley and I've been an educator for the last 10 years or so. I run my own training organization, both in Singapore and Malaysia, and I also do coaching as well. And the reason why I want to do this video is I really want to speak to those who are currently struggling to find leads, right? Struggling to get a job, right? Get paid to teach, right? And the reason why I just kind of thought of doing this video is also because I've been doing this for the longest period of time, and it really not only tires me out, but I get very sick and tired of what the industry gets to, get to say and get to control, especially your livelihood, right? In order to get paid to teach, you need to go through certain processes. You got to get certification, you got to, find a job, you got to, almost beg, for them to give you a job, because there's like a unbalanced level of trainers and schools and programs. But most importantly is the market, right? In the market, a lot of people talk about, hey, get paid to speak, get paid to teach, or invest in crypto, invest in this, invest in that. And then you'll be like, okay, but I am none of those people. I want to make an honest living. How do I get started? That's kind of like the thought process, right? And so for me, I have attended many, many different programs throughout my years, learn from the West, learn from the East, learn from local trainers, learn from institutional, countries train the trainer, learn from experts, my mentors. And one of the things I kind of cannot figure out was I learned all these things, I tried all these things, but why is it that only a minority of people can actually get the results that I want to get, right? For instance, it could be a lead gen thing. Like I want to get so much leads so that I can keep teaching. If you're like me, I am very tired of teaching. I want to just get paid to teach, right? But then how do I get leads, right? And then it goes into that rabbit hole of now I want to get leads to teach, but then that means I must do marketing. I have to work on my personal brand, and if I don't work on my personal brand, I need to know how to do content. I need to know how to put myself out there. And then you might fall into this category where it's like, hey, I also do not want to show my face, right? And so the old way of doing things is something. It looks something like this, right? Where you need to learn all these different things. You need to learn how to do ads, lead gen. You need to learn how to, convert people, how to create content, design. You need to show face. You need to show up to talk to people one-on-one. And for a while, it kind of works. You kind of get the momentum of it. But after a while, you get pretty tired. So the kind of new way that I found out that kind of works for me at least is that, or at least a better way, is you need to have structure. Right? A lot of times people don't really talk about structure. A lot of times people just tell you what to do, but they don't really contextualize it to your use case. So one of the things I found out is that there's this particular set of structure, especially if you are someone who has many expertise, you are someone who knows stuff, but you just want to focus on, delivering the transformation, the impact, the real deal, rather than just those marketing fluff, right? So structure is really, very important. Leverage, basically, for me, at least in my personal worldview, is if you can't beat them, you join them, right? So if you're in Singapore or if you're in Malaysia, you will have heard one of these few phrases, right? Oh, you got SkillsFuture credit or not? Can your program use SkillsFuture credit or not? Or got HRD funding or not? And stuff like that. And then you'll be like, I don't have, how? Then it's suddenly like you lost all the deals, all the opportunities, to teach, right? To get paid to teach, right? And so, how do you build the leverage for yourself? The third thing is basically empathy, right? Or empathetic selling. Something I teach in my one of my classes, workshops as well. And the whole idea is this: if you are stuck in sales, it's because you have yet to master marketing. Once you have mastered marketing, then sales become a form of service. So a lot of times people struggle with, sales is because, we've been taught the old way on, you need to hard sell, you need to convince, you need to handle objection, and then some customers, some prospects can be very technical, and then you'll be like, oh my god, I need to know all these things, and then you fall into this trap of analysis paralysis, and you'll be like, I can't, put myself out there because I don't want to embarrass myself, and then you fall into that whole loop. So empathetic selling, or empathy, having empathy, kind of flips the whole pressure and stress onto the customers instead. And we talk about this later in the video, but that's basically, what empathy or empathetic selling can do for you. And of course, the last thing is time. Time for what? Time to invest not only in yourself, but to create, videos like this, content, why you should put yourself out there in today's market, if you want to command higher prices for yourself. Okay? So with that said, yeah, let's get to it. So if you are struggling to get, paid what you think you are worth, then very importantly, you need to understand this concept. And this was said by Christo, so shout out to him. And he said something like this. I rephrase it, but don't be a commodity. Okay, what does that mean? So he used basically rice as the example. Okay, so he compared that, if you are like rice, meaning to say that, you don't do personal branding, you don't put yourself out there, and you don't have to be, okay, if people's going to offer you a job, or like in this case, a training gig, then you are basically no different from anybody else that we have basically millions of rice to choose from. You know what I mean? In other words, you do not have a position or an authority to be like, hey, this person is special or unique in XYZ ways because this person did a video, therefore you will fall into the category of a commodity trainer. So you will just be priced based on what the market is willing to pay you or what you can be offered to pay. Okay, so unless you choose to realize that, hey, if I want to stand out from the crowd, then don't be a commodity. Okay, and there's one very, very beautiful diagram that I found out which really blew my mind when I first saw it. Shout out to Taki Mall for this. And he basically demonstrated this ratio, okay, between sales and marketing. Okay, so just now as we were, as I was saying earlier, if you are stuck in sales here, it's usually because all your effort is in, how do you handle objections, what will the customer say, what are the bonuses, and you throw all these different kind of like offers, and they may or might not stick, right? But at the end of the day, one thing's for sure, you might appear pushy or salesy, and that's what most people don't like today. We can smell this bullshit from afar, right? And so one of the things that nobody actually told me in the early days is that if you actually move or focus yourself to the other side here, where marketing is first, it comes first, then sales become a form of service. In other words, what do I mean by that? It means that if my marketing is done right, all the conversations I have with people can be converted into content pieces, right? And this was something I just thought of talking about earlier, is what content to create, okay? So what content to create, that's the big question. So here's the example. If you've been taught, those like traditional funnel where you have to, get people to book a call with you, schedule a call with you so you can sell them coaching or, those free discovery call, it all ends up in the same place, right? First of all, people hate to be sold and we don't really like that. And at the same time, it takes too long, like I have to book a call with you and then they might miss it, they might skip it, and they might never end up on your, dollars and cents, right? So how do we overcome that? So one of the things that Takimo actually taught me was this. By the way, he's the coach of coaches, so if you want, please see him up on YouTube. He's fantastic. So basically, I'm just rephrasing this myself, is that if you are going to do a one-on-one or discovery call at the end of the day, right, it's only for one and one reason or purpose only, right? It's just like, hey, if you're going to see me in person, there's a few reasons why. Or at least in my experience, is because one, you know me, you want to explore more about the opportunities I have. Two, you have a gap, you have an issue, you want to close it, and you need some help, right? And you just want to get a bit more information. And thirdly, if you are a new prospect, a new lead, and you just want to kind of work with me, like you potentially want to explore partnering with me, then it's because we have not yet established the trust, right? So if just based on these three things, right, the gap, the trust, or the offer, and two people, want to meet, but, you don't have the trust, then that's basically what the one-on-one is for, like, either in person or virtually on Zoom as well. So the question then is, what if you can take all this information and put it online first here as your marketing content, right? And at the same time, it's like building a personal brand without building a personal brand. And that is what people like Gary Vaynerchuk might say, like, document your work rather than showcasing your work. Does that make sense? So to answer that question, document your content and all these kind of things is like so overwhelming. It's that simple, right? If you just take the logic of, hey, if it's one-on-one and these are the three reasons why people meet you, why don't I just take this experience and document it and put it online so that by the time they meet you, they already know what you're getting into. It's just kind of figuring out yes, no, now, maybe not now, maybe it's a price thing, whatever that might be. And then that's the other part of the conversation under the sales part where it's like, hey, if you can't afford it, what is the leverage you have? What is the bonus or what's the guarantee that you can offer as well? And more on that later in this part of this video. Okay, so with that said, do we start to build a following if we're just getting started? Like, how do we get started? Okay, so this is a diagram that really, again, from Taki Mall blew my mind, and he said this, and he used this graph to kind of illustrate his point. So imagine over time, in the past, we were taught to, build content, build a community, build a list and stuff like that. Always could be like YouTube, LinkedIn followers and stuff like that, right? So it might look something like this, up and down, whatever that might look for you. For some, it could even look like this, like totally nothing at all, okay? Either way, the point is this: if you haven't got started, get started, right? If you have started, like for me, I have built a couple of communities. We have over 200 trainers, and I can just blast an email and people will respond. The idea is that, do they buy, or is that something I can sell to be of value to them? That's a whole different question. But the thing now is that maybe in your mailing list, let's just write this down. This is your, let's say, mailing list, or what some might call your database, okay? If you build a database, all you have is only what we call leads. And as Alex Hormozy would kind of put it, what we want isn't leads anymore in 2026. What we want is this thing called engaged leads. So what is an engaged lead? An engaged lead is basically someone who will actually interact with you and your piece of content rather than just, attention, and then no action. Or that kind of rhymes. That's good. Right? So let's say if you build a list or a community over time, and it is tiring, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that, you need to master so many different things. You need to have the skill set, you need to have the software, then you might need to pay for it today. And then you need to come out with an email, like all this kind of stuff is so overwhelming. So Taki actually mentioned, what if instead of building this over time, which of course, the whole idea is to build a brand, right? And when I mean brand, is like personal brand, corporate brand, whatever brand is to you. But assuming that's the case, what if we were to create content so that people can consume much faster, right, in a shorter period of time? And what Takimo actually found out is if you can do this, and that can be the form of like videos like this, people actually buy much faster than, the traditional lead gen form. Does that make sense? And that kind of blew my mind. I'm like, oh my god, if that's the case, then I should be doing more videos like this so that more people, what we call this is called time on brand activities. Okay, time on brand activities. And this is actually supported by Google, which actually did a research, and what they talk about is this thing called the 7-11-4. And what that means in short is that you have at least 7 hours of content like people can consume, get to know a little bit more about you with 11 different touch points, so they can find you on like wherever that might be, my email, YouTube, LinkedIn, and then within LinkedIn, let's say it's like LinkedIn article, and then within that it could be like a LinkedIn post, a LinkedIn comment. You have all these different touch points on at least 4, which is what the 4 is, different platforms, right? So with Takimo and Alex Hormozy and like all this like research by Google, and suddenly everything all makes sense. Everything just clicked for me. I'm like, oh my god, that means from 2026 onwards, I have to really focus on time on brand. Easiest way to start is to do it on you, right? So build your personal brand. That's what they say. Personal brand by doing something like this, a video, and that's something we actually cover in our coaching program that is, accredited and funded. So if you're Singaporean, you want more information, just watch to the end. There's a keyword and just fill up the form. Just put in your details. We'll send you all the information needed to get started with. Okay. So coming back to this, one of the reasons why this would work really well is because in today, a lot of buyers are solution aware and problem aware. And that's at least where you also want to focus on, because there's like this 5 level of awareness, right? And most of the time people are kind of like, they fall into this, like they're even unaware. Those are the customers that might not want to pay you or do not trust you enough to kind of pay you. So if you want to get paid, one of the strategies you can kind of consider is targeting buyers or your potential, we call it the ICP, ideal customer prospect, who kind of have an idea what they want, but they just, so they're problem aware, but they might not be solution aware, right? So your whole job when you kind of, build time on brand is to help your buyers understand why you. That's the whole thing. And if I were to kind of draw it, right, the whole idea to create content is to move them away from doubt, right, all the way to trust. So by you doing time on brand, you are removing doubt, your audience, your potential audience, away from doubt to trust in a shorter period of time. And with content like this, you will see my social media. You can just stalk me to find out how I'm doing it. I'm leveraging the 7-11-4 to my biggest advantage. And that's the best part, right? I just do this once, I can crop, and ta-da, it becomes content pillars for the rest of my, social media. And it's just one video or so. So that's the whole power behind, hey, if you can understand this would really change the game for you. Whether or not you join us, whether or not we will ever work together, this would really change the way you see personal brand for 2026 and really beyond. Okay, so to summarize what we have covered in this video, right? Basically, at the end of the day, if you want to get paid to speak, which is all the way up here, there's a few things you need to master, right? So we talk a lot about the foundation pieces as to why today, if you don't want to be a community, then you start putting yourself out there, right? We call this building foundation first, okay? So once you have your foundations out, which is what we use, we call it the MAP framework. MAP basically kind of represents the market fit, like whether or not your program, your offer has a place in society. Just like I will use like this example, wrong example, like, the red and blue marker kind of analogy. If I grew up in my whole life that, hey, I only like blue and I only know blue exists, and I go up to the market and people are starting to tell me that, hey, they don't really like blue, they prefer red, right? Or they prefer, say, black. And then in my worldview, all I know is blue. Now the question is, are you willing to open up your mind and start to realize that there are actually, there's diversity in the market? And with this information, can you repackage your offers, your gift for the market? That's really, really important. Okay, so market fit, which will lead you to having authority, to be known, to be seen as the go-to person rather than just be a commodity, right? And last but not least is your packaging and pricing. So a lot of times, I think for me at least, just to recap, a lot of times my biggest struggle was how do I package it in a way that people will actually say yes without being pushy, without hard selling, and having this calm energy as well. And very importantly, if you want to have this calm energy, you need to have structure, right? And that's the key to this whole game. So, if you have structure, you have clarity, you can validate your offer. That's how you can build your foundation first. Once your foundation is really, really very strong, only then you can climb up the ladder, right? So that you can get seen and get heard, so that you can get paid. So how did that look like for me? Basically, once I did the foundation piece, basically people have seen me everywhere, like in Singapore and Malaysia. I got invited to speak in Malaysia on a radio show, on stage to train, even though that's for charity, but that gave me exposure. And then I just had to recycle them into the funnel, the system that I built, following right here, right? To, nurture these leads, right? So what I did was basically I can nurture these leads to become engaged leads, and then basically that whole cycle continues all over again, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about we turn conversations into conversions, and we just basically follow a very simple framework. Okay, just going to show that to you. Very simple. First things first, you need to master the skill set of shooting, right? So something like what I'm doing, shoot, right? So once you shoot, of course, aside from the nitty-gritty edit, post-edit and stuff like that, which is actually very simple in today's with AI and with the technology, okay, you need to be able to have an audience to boost your message, right? Once you boost, basically that leads to qualifying people, whether or not they are your right ideal customer profile, or for those who are doing B2B, ideal business profile. We call this qualifying. And if they're like, hey, yes, I'm interested in it, okay, then what is the system? Okay, the system to basically introduce them to the next step, right? What I call your pathways. Okay, like small win, like bigger win, and happily ever after. If you can design your program where you can have this like small win, bigger win, and happily ever after, you have a very great offer. That's kind of where the packaging comes in. You will have very good cash flow coming into your bank in the near future, maybe as early as 12 weeks, I think. Yeah. So the whole idea is, again, shoot. So put yourself out there, boost it so that you can qualify. You can convert them basically with a system. Okay. And at the end of the day, you can repeat this process by having what we call a pathway, or some might call it a pathway flywheel. So how do you keep recycling and nurture this this golden egg opportunity for yourself, your business, so that you can get heard, get seen, and get paid? This is what we call, use another color. This is what we call the GoPro framework. Okay, and we dive deep into all these different layers in other videos, but that's kind of like the summary, how we kind of structure GoPro so that you can get heard, get seen, and get paid by building your foundation first. So if you're interested to find out more, we have it in a one-pager doc. Just comment the word doc, or you can click in the link below. We have all the information for you. The best part is that if you are in Singapore or in Malaysia, there is subsidies and grants for you. All information is here, especially so you can come and it's really, really accessible for you. And its best part is accredited, so you don't have to worry of being scammed like other marketers, which I'm super, super jaded about. Okay, so yeah, at the end of the day, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. That's how I'm able to create videos like this. But I hope this video gives you a big picture of how to get started, especially if you are educated in Singapore or Malaysia in this day and age. So with that said, my name is Riley. You can find me across all social media at The Abundant Riley if you want to go behind the scenes and see how I actually use this system for myself. If not, leave a question. Me or my team will reply you. Email and that chat box, support talk, whatever that link is below. So if you like what you've watched so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment behind so that I know what kind of content to create. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and see you guys in the next episode.